And now, it's The Law Show on CL 650. A comprehensive look at everything you need to know about the law.
It's a legal matter, baby. A legal matter from now on.
And welcome to The Law Show. I'm Zach Spencer on CL 650, and joining us in studio, immigration and citizenship lawyers from MKS in downtown Vancouver, Alex Stojkovic and Rudy Kishner, two of the partners, and your other partner, Gordon, isn't here today. He's always fun when he's in. So you've moved offices from Yaletown to downtown right next to the Burke's building. And what was the reason for that? Is immigration law an expanding field?
It is an expanding field, and our office has been expanding, so we needed more space. We were hiring new associates and new assistants, and we had to get some more space, and so we were able to get a whole floor down at Hastings and Granville. So it's been
688 West Hastings, ninth floor.
I've never really asked you guys before. How did you all become partners? How did you come together? Did you know each other from?
Well, we went to school together, Alex
is that right?
and I. Yeah,
because it's interesting because we have other people on the Law Show. Murphy Batista, the personal injury lawyer, same thing, went to law school. So is that a common theme with partnerships?
Well, we didn't really know each other in law school, though.
Well, I knew you. Everybody knew you, Alex. I mean,
were you the star?
That's not true at all.
Were you the captain of the basketball team?
Are you kidding me? No way. No way. Well, you know what? I mean, our community is not big, the immigration law community in Vancouver, and I'm a bit of a lifer. I started in this in '95, right out of my first job articling, and Rudy started, just a few years later in immigration law.
About 4 years later. Yeah.
And the thing is, if you're, and our partner Gordon started in immigration law in '89 with our old firm where Gordon and I met. And when Gordon and I decided to leave our old firm and start our firm in 2002 in November, when we started looking for a third partner, it took a couple of coffees and a couple of lunches, and we mapped all this out. It's more than 10 years ago now.
I was working somewhere else, and I was considering going out on my own, and I got a kind offer to come join them. So.
That's a huge leap of faith, putting your own shingle out, right? Starting your own business.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things in life. At the time, I had twins that were under 2 years old. I had a leaky condo in False Creek with a big mortgage. And it seemed, oh my God, what am I doing? Is this crazy? But then, 2-3 years later, my thought was, why didn't I do this 5 years before?
Right.
So it's like anything.
And how many lawyers under the tent now?
Well, we have 6 on the letterhead.
Yeah.
So
with
another one joining in November. So.
Yeah, so we're growing. We're happy with the growth, and it reflects the market because I think the market's growing. Immigration's a growing area of practice.
Okay, immigration and citizenship. Is there something that say, Rudy, you take as a sort of subspecialty, or Alex,
that's one of I always say our failing as a business model. We tend to. I think all of us have started our practice, in a litigation sort of field. We've moved on to do more sort of solicitors work, and we've never sort of given up either. And so we all sort of, we do a little bit of everything, which I think makes us better lawyers, because the reality is when somebody comes with a problem on the solicitor side where we're sort of preparing the file and we see one or two issues, we've seen it on the litigation file, we know where it's going. We're able to advise our clients better that way. So, we're all very well rounded that way, and I don't think we really could say anybody has a specialty.
There's certainly certain things that we're particularly known for. Certainly Gordon is maybe the leading expert in misrepresentation in Canada. Certainly thought so by the bar. And in terms of citizenship revocation, I've probably done more of that work than, I dare say maybe there's a handful of lawyers who've done more than I've done in Canada. But that's part and parcel of being specialist and in being in a city where immigration law has been a big deal. If we were in a different city, it would be a little harder to even make a living at immigration
law. In Winnipeg
or
something, yeah.
Although there are some excellent Winnipeg
actually.
immigration lawyers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Regina.
Even Regina these days.
Recently Regina. I mean, I don't know how much longer, but anyway.
Hamilton.
Up until that might
Hamilton's
be harder.
a stretch.
Might be harder. Brampton, not so bad.
Hamilton's a stretch, but Winnipeg is not. I mean, Winnipeg has an incredibly successful provincial nominee program that brings 10,000, 12,000 immigrants a year to Manitoba.
How many stay there?
All of them. This is the great irony. They make up for all the people that leave Manitoba otherwise.
Right.
Yeah, they come wedded to a job under a program that basically you have to have a job, and most of them you have to already been working there for years before you actually even have to
One of
apply.
the things about Manitoba is a lot of people have left Manitoba, but a lot of people have this yearning to go back and to be there, and people from Manitoba love it. I mean, they love the cottage life, and I mean, there's a lot
They
to
go
be
back
said.
for the summer. I got a lot of friends that go back for the summer. I don't talk to too many go back for Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, but Manitoba is going through a period where some of their industries have done reasonably well in the last decade. And the only way that has been able to happen has been foreign workers to some extent. And the impact that they've had on the Manitoba economy has been huge.
So one question I have for you. So you're here in Vancouver. Are most of your files in British Columbia, or do you represent people from other provinces?
We represent people across the board. We represent people in Quebec. We represent people in Ontario. But I would say probably 80% of our work, I would say, is definitely in BC.
Okay,
You know?
that's good because we've never really talked about how you all met and came together. So that's great. So I have this here, HUMA report. I have no idea what it means, but you're going to tell me what is the HUMA report.
I just mentioned a moment ago about the impact that foreign workers have had in Manitoba. And the HUMA report, HUMA is a terrible acronym that has nothing to do, really. I keep looking at this name of this committee and trying to figure out how they got HUMA out of it. But it's the Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and Status of Persons with Disabilities Committee.
Mm-hmm. That's long.
That's long. That is a committee that has been tasked with review in Ottawa of the foreign worker program, specifically the Labour Market Impact Assessment Program that is administered by the Ministry of Employment and Skills Development Canada.
We've talked a lot about this.
We have talked a lot about this. Well, you know, they came out with a list of 21 recommendations at the end of September that have been published now and have been promoted quite a bit in the last couple of months, and that are now the source of, they're being taken back by the politicians. And there's an effort now to try to craft legislation based on some of their recommendations. And their recommendations are all over the map. I mean, in some respects, they're trivial and to some, and others they're very significant. Hearings were held by that committee at which dozens of industry groups appeared, as well as many workers' rights organizations, unions, etc. And the points of view that were represented were, hey, this program isn't working to get us the foreign workers we need, as well as, hey, I'm representing foreign workers being exploited by these employers. The program doesn't work in terms of enforcement. So you have too much enforcement, too restrictive, as well as not enough enforcement, not protective of workers. So they were dealing with all of these things.
I guess that would fall under the different categories and skill levels. We've talked in the past about a guy who's an engineer and he's working for an oil company in Alberta. Well, he doesn't need protection as much as a foreign worker that's coming in and flipping burgers.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that was a massive problem, I think, under the Conservative government when they they were responding to a bunch of workers from McDonald's that came forward in the media saying they were exploited. The Conservative government reacted very quickly to that and brought in a bunch of legislation enforcement mechanism, but it applies across the board. So, somebody that's making $250,000 a year has the employer is having to go through the same rigorous checks to make sure that they are being provided for, right? So I can give you an example. I was bringing in an agricultural worker recently who is a management level. So he's getting paid very well, but the employer has to guarantee that he's going to have a place to live. Right, which
a guy who makes $200,000 a year can get an apartment.
Can live where he wants, pretty much in Vancouver, right? But the way the program's set up, the employer's on the hook for that,
based on these underskilled minimum wage workers, right?
Yeah, it's a problem of one size fits all. Right?
One size fits all, and that's part of the list of recommendations. Why they're a bit on the schizophrenic side, is they're dealing with complaints that have come from all sorts of different walks of life and all sorts of so to give you an example, I mentioned a few moments ago Manitoba. Manitoba's food processing industries, particularly hog processing and other industries,
packing plants,
meat packing, etc. These companies have become some of Canada's real industrial champions with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 employees.
And that's why the government was so pro opening up exports for
for
meat and things in other countries like China.
But the challenge they have is filling jobs such
That
as
are no
slaughterhouse
fun. Yeah.
workers that Canadians don't want to do, especially not if they want to. They have to do them in a rural Saskatchewan or rural Manitoba setting. So a lot of employers have relied on foreign workers to come and fill those jobs and have committed in many instances to making those people permanent residents. The challenge that they've run into is the government has set caps now on how many foreign workers you can have at any particular job site. And in these bigger job sites,
Where you say there's 3,000 people working there.
right,
Yeah.
this is becoming a significant problem. You have a ceiling that you cannot have any more foreign workers. And the feeling, that ceiling has now been dropped to 10% and no more. And there's a strong feeling amongst those industrial associations that that's an artificial number and needs to be changed. And so one of the recommendations that the committee came up with after listening to the numerous complaints from these industries is to raise that bar from 10% to 20% to help accommodate industries like that. So that's one of the recommendations. Another recommendation was from the Universities Association and Colleges Associations of Canada, who feel that this is an overly onerous process for them when they're trying to bring in specialized academics. And their perspective is, look, we're bringing in an academic who's going to be part of our community for 10, 15, 20, 25
Especially if they
years.
have tenure, right?
Tenure. If we're going through the trouble of recruiting, why are you making us pay extra fees, going through an additional process, proving to you that we've advertised on the National Job Bank, when you don't find a professor of anything from physics to nuclear medicine to theology on the National Job Bank? You find them in an academic journal, or And so one of the committee's very sensible recommendations was that if you're recruiting faculty at your university or college, the guidelines should be a little bit less restrictive in terms of what you're required to do.
We're talking about the HUMA report, and the long name is?
For those that want to know.
This is a parliamentary committee.
Yeah.
It's the Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and Status of Persons with Disabilities Committee Report on Foreign Workers.
Well, we've just scratched the surface on that. So we're going to continue the conversation next on The Law Show on CL 650.
There's more of the show still ahead. This is The Law Show on CL 650.